We said that. He gets $5. Nobody else does. Hi, welcome to A2NewTech 2011. This is our 4th year. We're entering our 3rd. Oh, yeah. We started in 09. So. Yeah. 3rd, right. Geeks can do some correction. We're in our 3rd year in our multiple location. This is our 3rd location, actually. And A2Geeks is brought to you by the A2Geeks organizers. Can I get hands from the A2Geeks organizers? Roger Rayle, Doug Song, Amy Klinke, Dave Brophy, Alex. Who else are we missing? Wes. Where's Wes?
The Tech Transfer Open House.
The Tech Transfer Open House. All right, so we're competing tonight with the North Campus Research Complex, the NCRC, not to be confused with the NCRB or the NCRA. The NCRC is having its open house hosted by Office of Tech Transfer. That means, Wes, I'm looking at you right now. I'm saying the food is better here. Yeah. So we have a stellar program, and I really mean a stellar program. These are guys who we were actually saving for January to keep it up in here. 5 startup companies. I'm going to dispense with the opening ceremonies and exposition and get right down to it. We'll intersperse in between programs with all of the heavy nonsense that makes this a monthly program that you really look forward to. And we're going to begin with Gary Wong. Gary Wong hails from Malaysia. He was working at Dow Chemical when he decided that, hey, what he really wanted to do was start a hedge fund. What he's doing now with RiskShooter is even more fun. Let's give it up for Gary Wong.
Hi, my name is Gary. I'm from VizChef. This is a company that was founded just the previous time, Thanksgiving, when a few friends of me and we decided that we want to try something to see if we can do something that is better than movies or S&P. So, good evening and thanks for having me here. RiskShooter basically is an online tool for quantifying a company financial health. And in general, anyone can find out about the financial health of a company by obtaining and evaluating its financial statements. What RiskShooter is doing is push a step forward by quantifying the final decision, so anyone can make a decision in an objective and consistent manner. Potentially, any investor can use it to evaluate stocks and bonds. Trade creditors can use it to evaluate their private and public customers. Today, I'm just going to spend time on the trade creditors part, which is, by definition, any company that sells products and allow the customer to owe their money for a certain period of time. This is a story about a company, a small company that lost money because the customer defaulted on the payments. A customer like at this size normally do not have complete risk management solutions, and in the event of default, they normally have limited legal options, and their claims are normally at very low priorities. Our goal is to create an effective tool to overcome the shortcomings of these companies. Conventionally, in order to find out a customer capability to pay, a large company normally hire financial analysts to obtain and evaluate financial statements. Small companies rely mainly on historical payment habits that are provided by companies like Duns & Bradstreet. And regardless of how much money is spent, trade creditors are normally overloaded with a lot of information, and final decision is very difficult to make and often filled with a lot of uncertainty. RiskShooter, the goal for RiskShooter is provide cost saving for big and small companies, and we also want to make decision making as simple as possible. We do so by quantifying the risk. First, we evaluate customer financial statements, then we provide something called a default rate and a loss rate. The loss rate is the ultimate loss that you're going to incur if you do business and extend credit to the customer. Let me give you an example. Let's say you have these two companies want to buy products from you, and but they want 90 days payment terms. So how are you going to decide which one to extend credits and which one to ask for cash in advance? RiskShooter quantify the customer capability by providing a loss rate, so you can use it to compare with your profit margins. Now you can simplify your decision making by using the risk and reward ratio, which didn't exist without the RiskShooter. Our direct competitors is Moody's KMV. This is a tool that is different from the Moody's main business of selling corporate ratings. This tool is used extensively by banks to quantify private customers' financial risk. And we believe we can provide a similar service with greater flexibility to Moody's KMV. Our system is very simple to use. As you can see, we only require a few financial data to make the decisions, and decisions can be time's up.
Time's up.
It can, and the decision will be provided online instantly.
Do you have one more slide?
Yeah, so basically we are the new companies. We're looking for some fundings, and we need some help from web developer and statisticians.
Gary, thank you. Let's give it up for Gary Wong. Now let me ask the question that is on all of your minds. Have you pointed RiskShooter at RiskShooter, and what does it say?
A RiskShooter?
Yes.
They say, with RiskShooter you can figure out the risk for any investment that you can make.
So, there's the ask. What's the risk?
The risk is we are pretty small, but if we are going to be successful, then it's going to be a big return for anyone.
There you hear it. Get out your wallets, people. Next question. How does RiskShooter make money?
We haven't thought about that in depth, but one of the ways is to provide a subscription service.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like a Moody's?
it's a little bit different than Moody's. If you use Moody's KMV, you probably need to subscribe for the whole year. And we are just an ongoing basis, it's just a month to month. When you want to use it, you just pay for it.
Doug?
So one of the, nobody really likes DNB, but it's sort of standard, right? I mean, everyone gives their historical information to DNB. They update their profile because they know that it's the basis for commercial credit. How are you going to get people to, join your platform? Where are you going to get the data from to sort of get bootstrapped, where a company can go and find information about another company? Because it looks like the handful of metrics that you're asking for from the start. I'm just curious about how sophisticated a model could be if all you're getting are basically really high level financials.
For the time being, what we are looking for is that if a customer wants to use our product, they have to, as a trade creditor, they have to obtain the financial statement themselves from the customer. And we do have about, in our database, we do have about 25,000 financial statements of private companies in the U.S. And we are not that sure if we can disclose those information
modeling purposes.
Yeah, we just use that for our building our statistical model.
Blackjack.
Okay. My question was somewhat answered, which was, how do you calculate risk factors on smaller companies that do not publish their financial information?
Let me see. We have like a large number of small companies with asset ranging from 100,000 in asset to about $1 million in asset in our database. And we have a model that identifies important factors that will affect the capability of payments. And we also have, and we base our decisions on 70% on the existing, like historical information, that is the existing financial statements. And we also look at, like for this type of companies, like for each of the ratio that we pick, there has to be some average and some dispersion. And we feed those informations into our what called Monte Carlo system to sort of like predict what is going to happen. And we also compare the ratios with the some industry and business factors like macroeconomics and microeconomics.
Black and white sweater in the house.
Okay, sounds like a lot of these stuff, your calculations are based on the same type of calculations the whole financial system was used, and which is very subject to black swan events. When one problem happens, causes another cascading problem, and you're completely left surprised. Do you have anything in your method for dealing with these black swan events and other types of events such as competition, which are not normally recorded on their financial statements?
Good question.
Yeah, we based on the model is mainly based on everything that you can find on the financial statement and some publicly available data like the ISM manufacturing data, and it depends on the type of industry that you are picking. So everything is public.
Alex.
So I note that you have a case study on the Lehman Brothers that shows that you were able to predict their fall far before Moody's. Has this held true? Has this held true across other data sets that are publicly available or historically available?
Sorry, what was the question?
So you were able to predict Lehman Brothers devaluation before Moody's with a case study on your website. Has this worked for things other than Lehman Brothers as well?
Yeah, this model was pretty much developed in 2005 by me and my partners. Well, he was at Goldman and I was at Citigroup, and basically we used that to monitor our own investments, and the usage for us is like, I'm not suggesting anyone about how to use it, but the usage is like this model doesn't have any such activity. So basically purely based on macro and financial data. So we have like about 100 companies that we think reflects the economy. So we use this sort of like to identify whether when the market is going to crash.
More questions for Gary in the hallway? Gary, thank you very much. Next we have Tom Crawford from VizChef, who's dealing with the fear factor of the kitchen. While he gets set up, you know, there are 3 multivariate analysis companies on Main Street in Ann Arbor who are using the branch of math that Alex was just asking about. Ubiquity is using customer service statistics to predict where warranty claims are going to fall. University Financial, which is up above Real Seafood, is doing the same thing for hedge funds, I think, that Gary was doing. And then across from them, Optimization Group uses that branch of mathematics to do quantitative marketing metrics for Hewlett-Packard and GM. So this branch of mathematics is kind of scary math, Alex. We don't know how he was able to predict the Lehman Brothers effect. It might have been a butterfly effect or something in the financials indicated that there was a competitive pressure. But the models just work on the numbers that are in there. And that's why I think we're going to have some good discussions afterwards. Are we all set up? Thank you, Tom. So let's learn more about VizChef. Tom Crawford.
Hi, everybody, and thank you to A2NewTech for inviting me to come. Working on a product for the iPad to teach people how to cook better in the kitchen. Have a great team. A couple of them are here tonight, so if you're interested in knowing more about the work we're doing and how we did it, you can even ask them too, so it'll be fun to have them around. But I want to start with a question. How many people have tried to make something in the kitchen and had it not turn out? Come on, don't be shy. That's almost everybody. Well, I want to tell you that it's actually not your fault. It's actually the fault of the recipe, and I'm going to show you how. But before we get there, how old do you think the format of the current recipe we use today is? So recipes in books and in print, how long has it been around? 80 years, longer. Anybody else?
3,000.
3,000, longer.
Oh.
Longer than 2,000. Actually, 3,600 years old. The first known recipe we know today was written in cuneiform on a clay tablet. And the format has not largely changed in 3,600 years. The only modern advances in recipe format have been the inclusion of quantities on ingredients. That was about 100 years ago, give or take. And then the use of photos when we could put those in print. That is fundamentally the only two changes in 3,600 years. So let's talk about how the recipe causes those problems in the kitchen. First of all, process steps are actually embedded up in the ingredients. These are the things you need to do, but they're not down where you need to do them. They're put somewhere else where you often miss them. They use words like lengthwise. Exactly which way is lengthwise on a tomato? I don't know.
What is a plump?
Cored, chopped, loosely packed are all words that mean absolutely nothing. They might mean something to a chef who's been trained at the cordon bleu or something, but to the rest of us, it's completely useless. What is a garlic clove? Is it this? Is it this? Or how about this? Yes, these are cloves. And yes, this is a true story. Some friends of mine were making spaghetti dinner for the first time when they got married. The recipe called for garlic cloves. They went to their spice cabinet and found cloves. Did not find garlic cloves, so they put in 6 cloves instead of 6 garlic cloves. Yeah, so we ordered pizza. Other things that are wrong with the recipe. This recipe has 3 steps, or so it says, but there are really actually 14 embedded steps. Have you ever looked through the recipe and missed a step, came back, it was wrong? Okay. It's even worse. This recipe says it has 5 when it really has 27 steps. 27 steps. And then it uses words like roast and dredge, which mean nothing, again, unless you've been trained. Or plum and Roma. What is the difference? And are they the same? Can they be substituted? And how do you know what one is or not? And Idaho potatoes. If you go right now to Meijer and try to buy Idaho potatoes, the entire potato section says Idaho because that's what people decided they wanted to buy, when really the Idaho really means a russet. And that's the correct name. So what is a russet? And this is my favorite. Boiled and mashed. So this is making a potato cake. Am I supposed to actually make mashed potatoes? In which case, am I supposed to add milk and cream and butter and that and salt and pepper? Or are these just potatoes that we're mashing? It doesn't really say. And you're supposed to have it. You probably didn't make it. Now you're behind 20 minutes. So, with all that said, let's take a look at it now. So this is VizChef. Yeah. So when you come in, you're going to be able to search for whatever you want. Say you want to make a chicken dish. You can come up and see chicken parmesan or chicken vegetable soup. From here, you can get the ingredients, all the steps. You'll see that some of the photos are missing. We have one more photo shoot day left before this is done. So that's why some of the photos are missing. So depending on what you want to make, you can search for anything. Say you want to make soup, you can search for soups, or you can search for winter, whatever you want. All those are available for search. Then if you want to actually make the dish, let's make a brandy Alexander. That sounds good. We can go into dish mode, And this particular dish has 7 steps, and you only see the things in the step that you need. So for this step, we're adding ice cream. If you want to know more about the ice cream, you can click on it. The description comes up with all the details about how to select ice cream, what you need to know about this particular piece, and the particular equipment you need for this step. You can move through the steps, you can swipe through the steps if you want to, whichever way you want to do. You can check out again the description of brandy, or what a measuring cup is. How do you know to pick a good measuring cup? If there are timers built into things, you can actually click on that and the timer starts to count down. When it gets below 15 seconds, you can see the color changes, or if it goes where. You can swipe away, you can jump to different steps. So if you don't want to see a step, you can jump to that. If you already know how to do many of the things, it even has an intermediate mode. So those 7 steps will then switch down to 2. So if you know how to do all the stuff in the middle, like dice an onion, if you know how to do that, that's 5 steps. Cut the onion in half, top the onion, peel the onion, cut it one way, cut it the other way. Standard mode shows it in 5 steps, intermediate shows it in 1. That is the core of the piece. You probably do want to know one more thing, which is probably going to be the first question that comes up, so I'll do that next.
What's the first question that will come
How
up?
are you going to make money?
How are you going to make money?
So 2 ways. Core app price, $4.99 for 65 to 70 recipes at launch. And then additional recipe packs available in singles at $0.25 each, or packs up to $9.99 for books, book tie-ins, whatever it might be, a spring mix, a soup mix, whatever, who knows. Third, upgraded features, so allowing for editing, sensors, grocery
That was your one
lists.
question. Let's give it up for Tom of VizChef. There's a problem with doing this program at 6:30. We're all feeling it right now. First question. Second.
I want to know, I guess, why does it have to be an app? Like, why can't it be a website? It seems like you're limiting yourself to like just the iPad versus like anyone who has a web browser.
Well, that's a great question. One, because an iPad or other tablet, in general, I wouldn't necessarily say this is specifically iPad only, but it's the only real one out there that's publicly available. The tablet is true. Until CES this year, there was really nothing that was commercially available that was substantial. One, it doesn't have a keyboard. 2, it doesn't take up space on the counter like a laptop, so you don't have to worry about spillage, for example. So the tablet has some unique features that the other devices don't have. Is it possible that this could go in the Mac App Store? Absolutely, and be on the Mac relatively quickly. But the tablet was specifically a device choice that was more compatible with the kitchen.
How many competitors are there on the App Store for menu? It seems like a common category, and how you can differentiate your product from.
So that's a great question. There are, depending on how you define competitor, there can be potentially thousands of recipe apps. Of visual recipe apps that attempt to show you steps, there are only 2. The biggest key differentiator for this app is that it literally shows you every single step. It breaks that down and rethinks the recipe from scratch. None of the other apps do that. The major secondary piece that will be up in version 2 is actually here in the hidden, is the editing capabilities. Not one other app allows you to edit, and especially the visual apps don't allow you to edit.
More questions is gooder. 2.
Kind of goes back to the tablet versus web question. Where's the data?
Where's the data? The data resides in this case, which is also different from the competitors, all local. So you do not have to have a web connection to run this, which I think is an advantage for many kitchens.
Orange. You.
I saw the like the blender and ice cream. I don't know if this was in your monetization. Is there a way for putting in brands and things like that?
Absolutely. Numbers 4 and 5 are brand related, both on the product and the equipment. It's a perfect opportunity for OXO or for Dole or who knows who wants to get the products in here. Product placement all over the place, not through iAd though.
Right here, then you, then Sweater.
How have you...
No, he was next, then you.
Okay. Is it me?
Yes.
Okay.
You're wearing a name tag. I call you by name.
Okay. So it's interesting that you're differentiating yourself by saying that you're putting every single step in the recipe. And when I saw the app, and I agree with this guy that thinks it should be a web app, but it occurred to me that it'd be interesting if you did leave certain steps out. And then for those that paid for the recipe.
Well, my idea is how people not make mistakes.
This is the point. You put people into the site, and then when they realize, like, I'm not
Now that you've got the roast in the oven, would you like to know more?
What have you done to make it easy to get data into this thing?
Well, that's a great question. First of all because of it's not Victorian design for geeks in the room, so everything is completely reusable. So if you need to put an onion in, the onion's in. If you need to know how to dice an onion, just drag all those in when you create your own. So because of the design, that's different. That is literally different from every single other recipe, web or app.
Who is it easy for to do?
For the beginner, for anybody who it's drag and drop.
So I think the question is VizChef a community of people uploading recipes?
Yeah.
Okay, that's a different question. Yes, it is.
Okay.
In version 2, the intent is to have it fully social so that people can create recipes, share them with their friends, and potentially even a voting mechanism to say, I like it, I buy it, and whichever one's close to the top, we actually promote as part of the app, and they get a cut of the money.
I'm hungry. Tom, thank you very much. While Adam is setting up, let me thank our sponsors, A2 Geeks, the Office of Tech Transfer, even though they're having an alternate gig tonight, the Zell-Lurie Institute, and Safford and Baker, one of the most happening law firms in the law game. I want to introduce my close and personal friend, Adam, who first told me about... Change the name around.
No.
It's called Impact. Yeah, well, I was going to say we impact every day. All right. Who told me about Impact Card last year, which was just a couple weeks ago. Let's give it up for Adam Carver.
Go Jets. Okay, my name's Adam Carver, and I'm a graduate student here at U of M. I'm seeking an MS in environmental science over at the School of Natural Resources and an MBA at the Raw School of Business. And tonight, I'm going to rock your world with an idea that aims to change the world. We're going to be launching we're going to rewrite the playbook on an established and widely scaled consumer loyalty program, but one that doesn't necessarily speak to people or offer them a meaningful experience that draws them back to the company that is doing the promotion. We're also going to be combining a headline social mission, solving America's addiction to fossil fuels, with financial capital markets, my specialty, being a trader at Morgan Stanley, and technology, your specialty. And we're going to do it all through a credit card. I'll explain to you how. We're going to solve 3 problems in franchising many different parties along the value chain. The first are consumers. Surveys indicate a groundswell of support for social and environmental initiatives, but consumers feel powerless. They don't feel like recycling or changing the light bulbs has a great enough impact. Then there are credit card issuing banks whose greatest problem is acquisition of new cardholders. They have to use direct mail. It's a very expensive proposition. And attrition. It's very likely that once you sign up for a loyalty program, that you will leave after 6 to 9 months. So the bank pays for you to get on board, and then you turn around, you become someone else's customer. Then there are renewable energy companies. It's very expensive to build wind turbines, biodigesters, and solar roofs, which means many of these projects don't get funded. Your rewards points are actually borrowed. I'll explain to you how a credit card works in a second. We're going to use your rewards points and then issue short-term bridge loans to renewable energy developers to build these projects at a low rate of interest so that they're creating jobs, reducing our reliance on fossil fuels, and all the other benefits that come along with clean energy. We are the handshake agreement between these 3 parties. That's what I meant to say. This is how credit cards work. This is my friend Roxanne, and she wanted a purse before Christmas, so we put it here. She goes to Nordstrom, and she buys hers for $100. But the merchant doesn't keep that full $100. They pay what's called the interchange fee, about 2 to 3% of every dollar spent. It's held by the banks and the different parties that actually handle the electronic transaction. We've simplified here so that each party has $1. Years later, or after Roxanne pays off her balance, she wants to fly somewhere. Chase goes out and buys her a plane ticket. Or if she wants to donate her points to WWF, they issue her WWF a check in the amount of Roxanne's points every fiscal quarter. So there are no such thing as reward points. It's all money generated by the interchange fee. Here's where impact comes in. Every fiscal quarter, the bank issues us a check in the amount of Roxanne's points. We go out, make bridge loans to developers, and 2 years later, give that back to you so you can still fly off on your vacation and hopefully receive an investment return at the same time. We're going to make it viral through a web presence. A very Kiva-like website that would enable you, the user, to go online, scan all the different impact projects that we have done the due diligence and vetted for you, and invest your points as you see fit. It's also going to be a venue for you to share and collaborate with your friends, team up with companies that have demonstrated leadership in corporate social responsibility, and also monitor your loyalty and rewards benefits that you've accrued through different programs. The way that we're going to make money is from the banks, who will pay us a bounty on every cardholder that enrolls in the program, and a share of the interchange fee, along with a lot of other cool stuff that we can do on the website, which many of you probably have a lot of ideas on. There's proof of concept of this in the market. Obviously, Kiva, we all know, is 850 million users. They've invested about $180 million of their own money. U-Promise was started 10 years ago. That accrues rewards points to be invested in college education. They have 12 million cardholders. Finally, I'm here tonight because I'm looking for a kick-ass technical team to help me build out our web presence, specifically people who can handle point-of-sale data that we would generate from the credit card, so database analysts, people who have a passion for social media, web development, and for changing the world, because this idea isn't only going to make money. Our aim is to actually change the way that consumers shop, the way that brands and companies communicate to you and they promote their products, and hopefully make it very easy for people to make an impact every day. Thank you very much.
All right. I don't get how bounties pay for this. Bounties from the banks.
Okay. The bank's number one way of attracting cardholders is direct mail. They're the number one customer of U.S. Postal Service.
So you're acquiring the customers.
We are acquiring the customers for the banks, right? So the response rate on direct mail is 0.1%. On affinity cards like the WWF, Sierra Club, New York Yankees card is 10%. So greater by a factor of 100, and for that the banks will pass along an acquisition fee and a share of every dollar that you spend on the credit card.
And that's junk.
And we're also helping the environment by not sending letters.
Hi.
So it seems like 1% of like all my purchases is a pretty small amount. I'm wondering if I can like give you more money and then invest it in this.
Yeah, terrific question. At first, no. Because in order to take your money as a financial agent, or as the agent for your money, I would need to do an analysis of your risk and return profile. So I don't know you well enough yet. Initially, we would only take your rewards points, crowdsource that with, let's say, 10,000 other people to build a turbine. There is a thought that eventually we will launch an investment fund along with this once we know your behavioral records. And you can demonstrate that you would be able to assume a specific amount of risk. So not yet, but eventually. Right now, it's just rewards points. It's a good thought. Yeah?
Who's going to be doing the risk reward on the investments?
There will be an internal team of financial analysts who are scoping out the projects. Additionally, we don't want to be taking the full risk on any one of these projects. We're going to be providing about 50% of the upfront money. So on $1 million project, we will take the senior portion, $500,000, and force the community or the developer to take the equity portion so that their skin is in the game as well. They don't get paid unless we get paid.
RiskShooter.
Bring it.
All right, next question. You said you wanted to build a team, a software engineering team, to do all this stuff that I know Doug knows is mostly off-the-shelf technology. Would you consider partnering for that, or do you want to build a base of that expertise?
I would prefer to build a team of people who care about this initiative and are based right here. If not, the fallback would be doing it off the shelf.
Your first team member is right here. Question.
Great.
Yeah, so it seems like you're biting off a lot here. Basically, you need to convince the bank to issue the impact card. You need to convince the consumer to sign up for it, and then you also need to build Kiva again. Is there like any sort of way to like simplify that process, or
the banking partnership is, I don't want to say simple, but that's reasonably simple. You can go online right now and issue your own affinity card if you want. You can put your face on it. Capital One will pay you $50 in bounty because they know you're going to sign up your friends and family. So the banking portion is relatively standard. We've already made contacts with renewable energy developers. I've been on the phone with them, private equity investors. We've looked at models, and we're able to show that on an investment on the bubble, let's say the return on investment is 17%, by issuing our loans, we can bump that up to 23%. So we believe that there's going to be a pipeline of many renewable energy projects that will come to us. Our goal is going to be selling cards. That is my goal, selling cards.
piece you're talking about, at one point about merchants who could be impact preferred merchants and somehow show that they're progressive by doing
Right,
so.
absolutely. So I've spoken to Carl before. What is the biggest problem for Stonyfield, Whole Foods, Starbucks? They don't necessarily have the marketing budget or a way to differentiate themselves versus other merchants and manufacturers. When you try and buy yogurt, every yogurt has a farm on it and a cow. Right? But Stonyfield is going beyond. So because we're going to be aggregating these qualified customers, we're going to use the website as a venue to enable those companies and manufacturers to communicate and promote directly to those customers.
Right.
Similar to how you promised us.
What happens if the business you're investing in, the company fails?
We're going to guarantee the investment for cardholders. This is a conventional credit card. You're doing something remarkable. If it fails, the company or our investors eat the loss. 2 years later, I don't want to deal with a cardholder somewhere in Omaha complaining that I lost her airline miles. Anybody?
Thank you.
All right, thank you all.
All right, somebody asked me during Adam's talk, my name is David Bloom. I'm another one of the organizers of A2NewTech, and though I dress like Steve Jobs, I have a working pancreas. All right, they don't all work. I'm sorry. You're very kind. I'll be here all week. All right, let's get Keith Newton up here, who's much better at this than I am. Keith is going to market an intergalactic game that I got to tell you was the highlight of our prep session. Seeing what was up there. You want to plug this fella in. And while he's doing so, let's begin the process of announcing all of the fine entrepreneurial community events, beginning with Global Ignite Week. Ryan, could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, so Ignite's an event there. People give 5-minute talks with 20 slides that auto-advance every 15 seconds. We've done 4 in Ann Arbor. It's in this very room on February 9th at 7 p.m.
This room?
Yeah, IgniteAnnArbor.com. You can register. And there's about 50 cities doing it this February, and it'll be a blast. So you should come out and check it out.
And the website is?
IgniteAnnArbor.com.
IgniteAnnArbor.com. Net. Tuvalu. Whatever. All right, I also want to let everybody know about the annual Collaboration for Entrepreneurship. This is where all the entrepreneurship posses and tribes get together and help Keith with his laptop. Okay, can we get it? Okay, yes! And I will tell you more about ACE after this sterling presentation that we haven't seen yet. Are you ready, Rob?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
All right.
Keith, I-Novae, go.
All right, so my name is Keith Newton. I worked as an engine programmer at Epic Games on their award-winning Unreal Engine 3 technology before I quit to start my own company. And this is game technology. And really what we're all about here is about kind of like expanding and breaking through the barriers of like what game technology was previously capable of doing. And what you're looking at here, this is a procedural environment, a procedural galaxy, where every single star you see in this background is something that you can actually fly to and visit. It represents a persistent solar system. And the system is capable then of scaling out from the surface of the celestial body to outer space, to another solar system, and even to other galaxies. So I'm just going to kind of breeze through this video real quick, just because 5 minutes isn't a whole lot of time. But what you're kind of looking at here is you can see the galaxy in the background, and all right, it's going to fast forward. Crazy. But that's the planet right there. It's fully procedural, and we have this. Here we go. On track here. This LOD system. Here you can see, if the light doesn't dim it up too much, procedural rings, and so.
Real demo.
Yeah, I mean, it's a video, yeah. I've got the real demo on my computer, but I can't like fast forward through it all, and it's hard to see things. All right, forget the video. I can't actually see it on this little screen right here. But essentially what we're doing is, you know, you can see entire planets, and you can zoom out from the surface of a planet all the way out to outer space, and it's doing this using atmospheric scattering. And so it's fully, like, physically realistic. And really kind of like the target market with where we think this is really cool is in particular flight simulators. But really it's not just that, because you also have things like film prototyping, architecture, and games. All where this type of technology, being able to realize these environments on a massive scale, is critical to improving like the amount of time that it takes to bring a product to market. And even within games, if you look at like the hit series of Halo, there's a lot of these transitions where your player is transitioning from outer space to the surface of like the celestial body, a ring, planet, whatever it may be, and that transition is interrupted, which then disrupts the cinematic quality, the cinematic experience of that game, and that's a really big deal. And so another thing that we're doing with this also, in terms of like kind of where this technology is going, is that streaming technology, kind of how we do this is a combination of procedural algorithms and streaming technology. And so where we see like huge gains in terms of the streaming is essentially building a Netflix for games. If you look at digital distribution platforms like Steam, which is kind of like the #1 platform on PC, it's a $2 billion business. In Valve Software, they're a game company, but the Steam platform by itself is $2 billion a year. That's crazy, right? And so what we're talking about then is, well, why can't you do games on demand like Netflix? You have things like Unity, you have things like Flash Player, but you have to download the entire application before you can begin using it. What we're talking about is you click play, the game starts immediately downloading, and you can start playing it as it's downloading, intelligent streaming. And really that's where we see like kind of like the next evolution of being able to bring like AAA quality graphics to different platforms, mobile, web, PC, Mac, whatever it may be, doesn't matter. You get it right now, you buy it, you've got it, you can start playing it. And so that's just kind of like where we're at. So my name is Keith Newton, we're I-Novae Studios, and thank you very much.
It's pronounced I-Novae?
Yeah, it's I-Novae. I say I-Novae. My partner's French, so we have a crazy spelling for it.
I-Novae Studios. Who remembers the Ann Arbor startup Media Station from the 90s? They had a game engine that wanted to do what you can do. Who's your customer?
So our primary revenue models are like licensing, engine licensing, and then once we're able to get the distribution platform in position, then you're talking about essentially what you do is when a customer puts a game on a distribution platform, you then take a percentage of every single sale made, and that percentage can be up to 30% per unit sale. It's quite significant. So yeah, we're essentially what we're trying to do is like this end-to-end solution where you have to integrate the streaming into the technology itself. So that's why we then have our own game engine, which on top of the fact that it has the streaming, it's capable of building these worlds that nobody else can do, right? On like these crazy scales, kind of whatever you can envision. And then in terms of revenue, it's almost all licensing, subscription-based stuff, taking percentages off of unit sales from licensees trying to sell their games on our platform.
Do you then recruit Rockstar game developers to validate your platform, or is that the folks who are your customers, the game companies do that?
It's both. Actually, we're working with a group of professional game developers out on the West Coast. They want to build web games leveraging our technology, and so that's kind of like our current first test case in terms of bringing the product to market, really.
Are you selling a game engine or like the platform?
At the moment, it's just a game engine. In terms of like the platform, that's under construction. We don't have a working prototype in terms of like streaming from the web, right? That's like there's two layers. There's the client layer and then the server layer. The client layer is ready to go. The server layer is something we're still working on.
Have you heard of OnLive?
Yeah, so the difference between what we're doing and OnLive is we're kind of like in between, right? So on the one hand, you have Unity and Flash. Again, you have a game, it's embedded in a website, whatever. You have to download the whole game before you can start playing. And if you're talking about a AAA game, that can be gigabytes worth of data. And then you have OnLive. What they do is the game is stored on their server. They render a frame of animation, and they stream this frame of animation, frame by frame, over the internet to your device. There's an issue with that, and that's latency. If you're playing a game that requires a fast reaction time, that's a really big deal. So we're kind of in between the two of those where, hey, you're playing the game on your machine, but you're able to start playing it right now because it's streaming the data that it needs to visualize each frame of animation as it's needed.
More questions, it's gooder.
What's your ask?
I'm sorry?
Why are you here? What are you asking for?
We're seeking investment and strategic partners. So, as well as actually we're hiring. So if there's any killer graphics programmers out in the audience, I would love to speak with you afterward.
And if you're not a murderer, you can work for them too.
Yeah.
Great.
Who's your competitors? What's your competing technology? And how are you going to compete against the big guys?
Sure, yeah. So the current major players in the industry are actually, one's my former employer, Epic Games, which is the #1 middleware provider in the game industry. Another major player is Crytek, and actually they're really big in defense licensing and stuff like that. And in terms of how we're beating them is their technology is built on algorithms that have been used for the last 15 years. And essentially they were developed originally for indoor experiences. And they don't scale out to the outdoor very well. Crytek has made some pretty good gains in that in terms of they can do large environments pretty nicely. But I mean, like what we're talking about is like entire planets, persisting the data in an entire planet. You know, you can create a visualization tool. Let's say for the government, you want to do disaster relief, and I want to visualize the entire country of the United States, and I want to be able to dig down into the local as well as the state and national levels. Our technology is capable of scaling to do that. And so really, this is what really separates us from our partners in terms of the client software. And then no one else kind of has that streaming, like, I want to play a game on demand type thing right now.
So I was actually going to ask you about online as well, but somebody beat me to it. So if I understand you correctly, you're basically online, but instead of streaming images, you're streaming data, and then you have a rendering procedure that runs on the user side that
Correct.
basically draws everything out.
Yes, yes. You have the streaming.
Netflix download. You gotta have to do that.
It's exactly. It's like what we're trying to create is a Netflix for games.
Which I know is over there.
Yeah.
Right here.
So if I'm a developer and I want to start using technology, am I bundling a SDK? If so, is it like a Windows C++ SDK, or is it like would it work with iPhone games? Or?
So at the moment, the only renderer we have is for Windows, and that's just because porting to other platforms is really expensive. And at the moment, there's just two of us, so we can't afford other platforms. But I mean, we're going to get there. We would like to do the mobiles, the iPhones, and everything. Consoles, next generation of consoles, we're really excited about. And then, of course, there's the web. And actually, our next frontier really is going to be the web in terms of writing web plugins, kind of similar to the Unity player, but then building that in our whole like this streaming technology into that plugin. So you just go to a website, you click play, and it just goes, you know, Mac, PC, and then eventually mobile. You'll just be able to just run.
I promise this man we get the last question.
So my question is, why don't you build a game with this engine? So, because we're making a game, and so my game devs, they only want to do Unity, that's all they know. And so for me, if you were to build a game with the engine and then just give the engine away, it would be a lot easier for you to kind of get people to use it. Because my question is, you have all these engines, and then people are trained in these engines, but how are you going to get them to switch without, you know, having an awesome game that you make?
You're actually absolutely correct in that. That's a really big deal for engine licensing and stuff like that. The reason why we're not doing that right at this very second in time is simply because we don't have the resources. We have to prioritize, and since we're comfortable with the actual engine technology, we're working on the core technology itself. And that's why we're working with these other guys on the West Coast right now to validate the technology in terms of releasing a game. We do have plans to build our own products. We simply don't have enough resources at the moment to scale out to that sort of effort. So,
Welcome to Startup 101.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Oh, okay, you can have it.
So I was telling you a moment ago about the annual collaboration for entrepreneurship. ace-event.org is the website. That is January 31st at 5 or 4 in the afternoon.
Starts early.
At Skyline High School. Skyline doesn't have school that day, so we're taking over the high school peeps. You will have the Great Lakes Entrepreneur Quest Awards. You will have awards for the New Enterprise Forum. Jerry Roston, who is the second year as the chair of ACE, is warning me that they're going to sell out this year. So this is an important event for you. It's really, really cheap. Well, not as cheap as A2NewTech. And the website is ace-event.org. Let me introduce my close and personal friend, Tom Root. Come here, bud. Love you, man. Tom and I have known each other for a dozen years plus. When we met, Media Station was still alive. All right. So Tom has had a stellar career in Ann Arbor, working for some of the highest tech and highest culture companies around. And now he's going to start one of his own. Let's give it up for MakerWorks and Tom Root.
So my presentation and my concept are very different than the others you've heard about in that they're based in reality versus virtual reality. So MakerWorks, I don't mean that as a judgmental statement at all. Just that it's not very chic these days to be in like the real world, and we're going to try and change that. So MakerWorks is a prototyping facility run like a health club. It's just that simple. Instead of treadmills and ellipticals and free weights, there's going to be milling machines and routers and 3D printers. Okay. One of the things that you're interested in is what is membership going to get me? Access to a bunch of tools and a bunch of different domains, classes, and access to people like you who are like-minded and interested in building things and figuring things out and solving problems. Membership cost, because I know that's probably the second thing that came to your mind, goes something like this. You can buy it as small as a day increment for about $35 a month at a time, about $90, or if you're ready to commit for the full year, about $900. If you're in a business or you're a startup and you want to bring 3 people in under one membership, then we can do the multi-user business type membership at a monthly and annual basis. In the metalworking category, I'll let you just look up there and glance, find your favorite tool, lock in on that one and think, ooh, he's going to have one of those. So metalworking, along with the tooling and the different domains, we'll also have facilities like classrooms, presentation sorts of things, a communal area, workbenches, a kitchenette, a lounge, that sort of thing. So a place to come and hang out and do your thing. Woodworking, some tools up there, kind of interesting. In plastics and textiles, we've been playing with the 50-watt laser for a couple of weeks now. We've been having fun with that. Going to try and offer some textile offerings too for those of you who maybe aren't into the flip and chips and the metal side. Maybe you're interested in trying to put together something on the textile side. Embroidery machine and serger and that sort of thing. And then in electronics and robotics, one of my particular interests, the usual stuff that you're going to see in an electronics lab. You might note the last point, we're actually going to try and sell some electronics components, pieces and parts. Right now, you have online options only, I believe. We're going to try and do something local here, retail, walk in, get some resistors, walk out. My dream would be to have a well-lit vending machine on the outside, 24 hours. In terms of classes, for each tool that requires sort of a checkout, there's going to be a safety and basic operation class. It's going to be very focused on safety and basic operation of that class, hence the name, and the opportunity to try it out and see how that feels. These will be offered, they'll be relatively short classes offered with high frequency. Okay, that's to say a couple of times a week, a couple of times a month. In the middle range, we'll have a skill building class where maybe we're going to talk about a particular tool. We're looking at what are some professional tips on this tool? How do I set up a jig on this tool? How do I do some special things on this tool? You'd be able to take a class like this. Again, relatively short, offered with high frequency. And then finally, make and take classes. This is where you get to come in. You're going to take the class to build the thing you want to build, and you take it home with you at the end of the class. Okay? Maybe that's all you ever do, but at least you'll have the opportunity to do that. These classes will range from a few hours to potentially several days in length, and will be offered as the masses deem fit. Okay? Now, I wanted to give you all the stuff, the practical stuff up front, in the hopes that maybe you'd hear the rest of the presentation. This is the rest of the presentation. Why this and why now? Making is back. I say not making is here or making is new. Making is back. See, our grandparents were makers. They just didn't know that that's what it was called. Okay? So the idea that you could not throw something away, but you could rehab it and refurbish it and recycle it is back again. Let's do it that way. It's green as a result. Recycle, reuse. Okay, let's fix it rather than throwing it away. The technology is getting easier. Embroidery machines, CNC routers, that sort of thing are now approachable. Unemployment. I'm going to skip to that one. In Southeast Michigan, Southeast Michigan needs this. We have a lot of people who don't have a place to go every day, yet have crazy skills. Let's give them these tools and find out what they can do. All right, enough of the big three. We need the mini 300,000. Okay, that's the model that we have to develop. The shop, MakerWorks, is meant to try and help deliver on that. Okay, the schools aren't doing it. All right, they've gotten rid of all the shops. We expect the same type of engineering prowess, yet we're not giving them the same skill sets to begin with. And we have a lot of people out there with crazy amounts of knowledge that's not going anywhere until we transfer it.
Tom, this is Michigan. You're selling nice decimals.
You're right.
This is what we do.
Yes,
All right,
it is.
let's give it up for Tom Root. We will take questions from Bilal and from Bob Stepp.
That's good. Right here.
So other than when can I buy some time on the laser cutter, my question is...
Yes, that's what I want to do.
Shops like the TechShop have sometimes had financial difficulty basically balancing the cost of these $10,000 machines with staff time and rental So just like, you know, is this going to be like a financial viable proposition if you guys run the numbers and sort of?
Yes, we have run the numbers. I've spent a fair bit of time with the TechShop folks. One of their big problems is that they have the Bally's approach. Again, it's not a judgmental statement, but they've taken the Bally's approach, which means that we've got to have 52 of everything or nobody's going to join. Our approach is different. We're going to start small with a smaller tool set, and as membership grows, the tool set grows.
The first question was serious though. When can I buy time on the
Well, the laser cutter is actually ready right now. So, you know, T-Root at maker-works.com. Let me know and we'll get you in touch with it.
Right here, then Ryan. You're right.
I have a lot of experience actually trying to outsource machining stuff.
Yep.
I'm building sorting machines.
What's your question?
My question is, how do you actually, do you intend to actually compete? Because I would love to come and prototype stuff and mess around with stuff that I don't want to pay a lot for, right? Yeah. And is that basically who you're marketing towards? Because I have a hard time believing that, although for $35 I could do a lot in a day, you could not support your business off of 35 of me trying to do a lot in a day. Right? Is that true? Or how does that...
So TechShop, now that they've been mentioned, talks about having incredible utilization on their tools at 1%. So it turns out that there's a lot of spare time in the day where a lot of tools aren't being operated. Okay. The good news is that if we have a tool that gets particularly a lot of focus, the laser cutter as an example, just buy another one.
So does this mean that the average shop that I would pay $65 an hour to have something machined is actually not using their tool most of the time? That's why it's kind of expensive.
Well, the average shop is going to be trying to schedule that machine job to job to job. That's not necessarily our objective. Our objective is to sell memberships to make the tools available to lots of people.
More questions in the hall.
Different model.
Are you going to have the a la carte classes, like a la carte payment options for classes, or do you have to be a member, and can people bring like an 8-year-old if they have membership? Great
question. The classes will not require membership. They're available to membership clearly, but you can come in and do a class anytime you want. And the class size is just limited by the number of people we think we can fit on that tool in the time we've got. Happy to do custom classes and happy to do special sessions.
Okay, I guess my question is twofold. Where are you going to do this? How does zoning impact that? And
Good.
how will people know to find you if you're in like an industrial park?
Right.
Versus difficulties with being downtown Ann Arbor in possibly non-industrial zone.
So we have an address, 3765 Plaza Drive, which is the airport plaza on South State, essentially, right across from the airport.
Yeah, you're by the other machine shop.
There's a bunch of other facilities down there. My background actually spent the last 12 years with Zingerman's. It happens that it's very close to the Zingerman's Bakehouse, the coffee company, and the creamery. The thinking there being that you'd be able to get something to eat without having to leave campus. Light industrial buildings, no problem with zoning. That's right.
Because that 50-watt laser cutter really makes you hungry.
Yes, it does.
Who buys the materials?
You do.
You bring along with you? Or
Yep. We'll have a selection, hopefully, of some raw materials, either retail or donated, but in essence, you're going to bring the materials you need. We supply the tools.
To go along with the question about utilization, are you going to have like scheduling, like you schedule a time, obviously, because we're going to show up at the gym and not get a little right?
Fantastic question.
And then also, are you going to get, like, it seems like you're targeting maybe unemployed people and stuff, is that $35 a day going to be reasonable for them to actually, if they need, you know, months of practice before they can be employable?
Sure.
They're going to be...
So first, in terms of scheduling, if we find that a tool is getting highly utilized, and the interim step between that and buying another one is to make a reservation system for the tool. So that could happen. You could imagine that. Be web enabled, hop on there, register your time. In terms of your second question, the hours, we are not trying to replace the concept of a community college. Right? And as a matter of fact, what I've talked to the folks at the community college about is I want to be a farm system for the community college. I want you to be able to come into the shop and try something out without making a 16-week commitment to a class. Do I like welding? Do I like to be on a mill? Is that even something I'm interested in? And if they show proficiency, then I want to make introductions to the community college. That's where they can get their long-term formalized education.
We can get two more in, 1, 2. You're one.
Have you talked to the All Hands Active folks?
Once or twice, I think
they're sitting right over here.
Yeah.
All right, 2.
Okay, so you talked about bringing back the physical world over the virtual world. What about things that bridge the gap? Like, would I be able to go in and rent time on a TechShop and play with the interface, haptic interface?
It's a good question. That technology in particular we haven't thought a lot about, but AutoCAD, SolidWorks, some of the higher dollar value software packages we're intending to have licenses for so that you could spend some time in that space. Yeah.
Tom Root from MakerWorks. We had one of those, it was called Warren. Wow, I'm just not working today, all right. Yeah, Bob. You're making announcements. Bring it.
GoTech, second Tuesday every month at
What's GoTech?
A2NewTech. GoTech is the best geek show until on the planet. It's 5-minute presentations and private presentations. People like to build anything, and then afterwards it's a breakout session. Usually around 50 to 70 members, or 50, 70 people. There's no membership, everybody's members. Second announcement, June 4th is going to be the Ann Arbor Mini Maker Fair.
June 4th.
And that'll be over at Sling Washington Farm Council grounds.
All right, there are 5 more new techs before then, and I expect you to tell me about every one of them. What's on? You raised your hand? No, you're just stroking your head. Okay.
Other interesting announcements from Roger.
Well, I'm just going to say, follow on to the ACE. If you're going to go to ACE, you may want to carpool because I think they don't have enough parking space for 1,300 cars. So at least come in 2 in a car at least.
It's fun. The cameraman's on camera. More tech events right here.
One of the curators of Startup Digest, which is an email newsletter that highlights startup events around town, many of which are in Ann Arbor, but will also include events in Detroit and East Lansing, among other areas. So I encourage you all to sign up at startupdigest.com.
And thank you for joining us. Startupdigest.com. Yeah, I just signed up for that. It's cool. Doug.
We have a new Twitter feed for A2NewTech. It's called A2NewTech. So check it out. It's a retweeting bot, so anything that's hashtagged A2NewTech will show up there.
Who's twitcasting today? Yes, thank you very much. All right, more events of interest to the technology entrepreneurship community. And Nancy Chow, come on down and tell us what you're doing. Oh, she has flyers and an announcement. All right, so while Nancy is winding her way down, oh, wow, she's really prepared. All right, Dan. No, we're not going to plug in your project. Just tell us about it.
All right. So on February 9th, we have the Empowered Career Fair. It's for small entrepreneurial companies, startups based in Michigan. It's a way to meet with other companies, a way to tap into the Michigan student body. Last year we had about 80 companies and 2,000 students. This year our goals is to get about 100 companies and more than 2,000 students, probably around 3,000. So if you would be interested, just come and speak with me afterwards.
That's this week?
February 9th.
Oh, February 9th.
Yeah, sorry.
You're this week.
Yes, I'm this weekend.
Different.
So for those of you who have not registered, I think you've seen my face around many, many times throughout this year. But it's happening. Startup Weekend is coming this weekend. It'll be taking place at 500 East Washington Street, and you guys will be getting a flyer that has the address on there, ticket prices, that kind of thing. So we have some really, really cool things going on. A lot has happened since we've last talked. So we have some really cool guests coming in. We have judges who are VCs from all over the Ann Arbor area. We have a former U of M alum, Michael Geis, coming in from Boston. He's a senior VP at Highland Capital Partners. We're providing food. We just got a sponsorship from Vitamin Water and Smart Water. We have gifts for everybody who comes. So that includes a shirt, some swag, and some other things. So for those of you who have not heard about what Startup Weekend is, I'll give you a quick lowdown on it.
Really quick.
So very, very quick.
How
yeah.
quick?
So what it is it's an event where you essentially build a startup idea into a product from nothing to something in the course of a weekend. So it's an incredible, incredible opportunity. There's more info on the flyer, and as promised from the very beginning, I've been talking to you guys for forever, and I promised you guys a discount code for coming to A2NewTech. So this is your reward for hearing me talk all the time. So the code is SW A2NewTech. So when you register for your ticket, you'll get $20 off, and they're only $35, so.
SW-A2NewTech. That means none of you have an excuse. You must all go. And it's this weekend.
Yeah, this weekend.
All right, thank you, Nancy. More tech events in this community, right here.
If you want a flyer, raise your hand and I'll grab it.
Is there somebody who's not from A2NewTech, or from Startup Weekend? Right here. Oh, you just want a flyer. You don't want to announce anything. Okay, hands down for flyers. Hands up for announcements. Right here, Alex.
All hands active will be teaching a class on Vim coming up in February. Check your Facebook group for it. If you know what the Vim editor is, it's a good chance to learn it. There is limited registration, and there's a door prize from our sponsor, O'Reilly Media. There's also limited registration up for a basic electronics course that I'll go through every weekend for 4 weeks, and you'll know how to make hats that can sing all about singing.
I've lived this long without them. How can I go any further?
Exactly.
Awesome. All right, last tech event, and then we are adjourned. There is a question that I pose to our startups too often, and that is how you're going to make money. And there is a program on that topic that is chaired by Chris Kamansky of Design Hub, former chair and founder of the Ann Arbor Marketing Roundtable. Ann Arbor Marketing Roundtable meets the second Tuesday, we're the third Tuesday of the month, so this is February 9th, 8th. 9th is a Wednesday, so this will be February 8th at Ann Arbor Spark Central. It's a program on B2B marketing. We're going to have a stellar panel including Eric Jacobson from Transloom, all talking about how, once you have this really cool technology, you actually build a business around it. More information at knightsofmarketing.org. Anyways, Knights of the Marketing Roundtable. And you just want a flyer, you don't have an event, and you just want a flyer. Okay, I think that was it. We talked about our sponsors. We introduced all our organizers except Wes. We made bad jokes at the expense of Steve Jobs, and we saw 5 excellent startups. I think it's been a good evening. Thank you very much for joining us.
Taco Tuesday.
Tune in again next week, and pepper our presenters in the hallway. They'll be standing there to be peppered.
Anybody want to go to Taco Tuesday?
Or go to Taco Tuesday.
The Vim Fest must be